Up next,
Great Falls experiences about a half a dozen every single year.
with reports of 2 young children falling out of windows, both in a matter of weeks here in Great Falls. Fox 5 providing tips on window safety. And unrest in Chicago over the NATO summit. That's coming up right now on Fox 5 News at 9.
Your first local news at 9 starts right now, only on Fox 5 at 9.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Emily Scarlett. Just last night, a 2-year-old fell out of a second-story window in Great Falls, and a similar event was reported just last week. During warm summer months, open windows create a safety hazard for children. Fox 5's Rachel Osley has been checking into what happened to that toddler last night and ways to keep our kids safe.
It was every parent's nightmare. You turn your back for 2 seconds and your child is in life-threatening danger. That's what happened here last night when 2-year-old Justice Skunkcap took a tumble out a second-story window.
Justice was playing in the apartment with some neighbors' kids that were older than her when she got distracted.
Well, I was cooking supper, and there was kids outside playing at the time, and she came out. She was just getting curious, peeking out the window. She must have leaned too far over the window and went out the window.
Her parents heard her scream as she fell out the window onto the pavement below and thought the worst.
I was thinking everything real bad, like she broke something and split her head open. You wouldn't want to imagine for your baby to go through.
Kids, however, are a bit more resilient than adults, and she turned out just fine, with only a small scrape on her head as a reminder of her close call.
I don't think the windows will be open anymore.
There were no screens on the windows when they moved in. Now there is, but a screen isn't much help.
No matter what screen system you go to, that will not prevent an adult or child from coming or falling out of the product.
We understand that you can't keep an eye on your child all the time or your pets, and sometimes they find places that will surprise you.
Stories of people falling out windows aren't uncommon.
Great Falls experiences about a half a dozen every single year, and it starts about this time of year when it starts getting warm and people open up their windows.
But you can take safety precautions.
The best way to keep any child safe from falling out of a window would be to make sure that your screens are in place and in good working order.
If you open your window with or without a screen, only open it a little. You can buy hardware or even use a stick to limit how far the window can open.
Limited opening hardware has to deal with the fact or the parts in addition to your standard windows that only allow them to vent a certain distance.
But even that isn't a total solution.
The downside of using limited opening hardware would be the fact that you could be breaking an egress code concerning the safety of a person getting in or out of a bedroom.
While it keeps a child in, it also keeps firemen out in an emergency.
Worst case scenario in a situation like this is, of course, death. But more often than not, people do walk away with just a couple bumps and bruises and maybe some broken bones. But it's better to be safe than sorry. In Great Falls, Rachel Osley, Fox 5.
Thanks a lot, Rachel. Montana Attorney General Steve Bullock taking his fight against corporate spending in state elections to the U.S. Supreme Court. On Friday, he filed a brief with the High Court requesting they uphold a nearly 100-year-old Montana law that bans direct corporate contributions to state political candidates. 22 states are supporting Bullock, arguing the 2010 Citizens United decision should not apply to state elections. Citizens United removed the federal ban against corporate contributions.
I've been working on this now for a few years, and nothing compared to the 100 years that this law has been in force. But it's not all that often that a Montana case goes in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. This one now called ATP versus Bullock. It's obviously pretty important to me.
Conservative advocacy group American Tradition Partnership is asking the Supreme Court to reject Bullock's request. They say Montana's law contradicts the Citizens United decision. The U.S. Supreme Court will have a conference in early June to make a decision. Cascade County Sheriff's deputies are getting some new vehicles, and they're definitely a nice upgrade. Fox 5's Steve Newton got a peek at one of the new cruisers today. Steve, how are these cars different from the trucks they've been using?
Emily, the new cruisers look more like the police vehicles we see on TV than the trucks we're used to seeing. And the new cruisers will actually work to save the department money.
This is one of 4 new sheriff's cruisers that will be patrolling Cascade County in the coming months. While the new cruisers look as though they can't handle some of the county's tougher terrain, The department is confident they'll get the job done.
They're higher off the ground as well. They're all-wheel drive vehicles, and they'll get us where we need to go, compared with the truck. Obviously, they're not going to get into the deep snow, etc., but we're hoping that maybe we'll get some SUVs as well, with the assistance with the commissioners.
The increasing maintenance cost on the high-mileage trucks and poor fuel economy also contributed to the decision to begin replacing the fleet. All 4 cruisers were part of the department's budget for this fiscal year. Sheriff Bob Edwards was unable to appear on camera, but said that if his budget is approved for the next fiscal year, the department could also get 2 new SUVs to supplement the new Interceptors. The next fiscal year starts July 1st, and the fuel economy on these new cars is actually going to be better than the trucks. The Interceptors are getting around 25 miles per gallon, while the older trucks are around 10 miles per gallon. Steve Newton, Fox 5.
Thanks, Steve. Moving into weather, Chief Meteorologist Adam Coslin is here with the first look at our forecast.
Well, showers continue tonight. Good evening. Coming up in your Fox weather first, we're going to take a look at the cool and wet conditions. It looks like these are going to last here and stick around for a little while, so we'll let you know how long. Light rain in your forecast. We'll see how much precipitation has fallen and where there could be some mountain snow in the higher elevations. We'll look up at the mountains and more coming up in your Weather Authority. Emily, back to you.
Thanks a lot, Adam. The city of Chicago bracing for more demonstrations today on the final day of the NATO summit. President Obama has a busy schedule, including a meeting with NATO leaders about the future of Afghanistan. But as NATO leaders make progress, thousands of protesters are saying no to the war.
Today, we'll decide the next phase of the transition, the next milestone.
It's day 2 of the NATO summit, and Afghanistan remains topic number 1 as President Obama and the NATO Secretary General host a session on the way forward in Afghanistan. The U.S. and its NATO partners are working with a timetable to have Afghan forces take the lead in 2013 and withdraw all U.S. combat forces and end the war by 2014.
Our nations and the world have a vital interest in the success of this mission.
But France's newly elected socialist president has pledged to pull out French forces ahead of schedule by the end of this year. Many wonder if economic pressures in a war-weary public will encourage others to follow suit. But NATO leaders remain optimistic.
From 2015, we expect to maintain a NATO-led presence to train, advise, and assist the Afghan security forces.
Thousands of protesters are making it clear they're opposed to the war and a variety of other issues. Demonstrations started peacefully Sunday but grew more violent and ended with dozens of arrests. The summit has been complicated by an unresolved issue between the U.S. and Pakistan. The two countries can't agree on conditions to reopen key supply routes into Afghanistan that Pakistan closed after a deadly U.S. airstrike in November. In Washington, Jennifer Davis, Fox News.
News of cases of the deadly flesh-eating bacteria have made headlines in recent weeks. For many people infected, it's fatal, but a Washington State boy managed to beat the odds. Jake Finkbonner is just like any 12-year-old, but many consider him lucky to be alive. Jake's face-off with death began at the age of 5 when he fell and bumped his mouth against the base of a basketball hoop. Lurking on the surface of that base was bacteria, which causes a tissue-destroying disease known as necrotizing fasciitis or flesh-eating bacteria. The infection worked its way through the open wound in Jake's mouth, taking over his face, neck, and chest in just a matter of days. Jake's recovery was so miraculous, even the Pope declared it a miracle. And the Finkbonner family has even been invited to the Vatican. Former Rutgers student Darun Ravi receives his punishment today. Ravi sentenced to 30 days in jail from using a webcam to tape his roommate, Tyler Clementi, being intimate with another man. Prior to sentencing, the Clementi family spoke to the court, painting a picture of Tyler's last days before committing suicide.
Tyler never did anything to Mr. Ravi to make him dislike him or to cause him to retaliate for some wrongdoing. No, Mr. Ravi did these criminal acts because he saw my son as not deserving basic human decency and respect, because my son was different than him, below him, and because he was gay.
Ravi also received 3 years probation, 300 hours of community service, a $10,000 fine, and counseling on cyberbullying and alternate lifestyles. He was convicted of 2 charges of bias intimidation. A Chinese company will buy one of America's largest movie theater chains. Dolly and Wanda Group will acquire AMC Entertainment Holdings for $2.6 billion. That's the biggest Chinese takeover of an American company to date. Well, they say we won't see too many differences with AMC now that the Chinese company has bought it, but what does that mean for our weather? We'll be going to the movies now with some rain showers coming, right?
Yeah, that's a good activity to do, some indoor plans maybe, and if you like the rain, maybe you're going to be splishing and splashing out there. Here's our almanac. We'll take a look into the coming week next.
Your Weather Authority forecast continues right now on Fox 5 at 9.
Welcome back. Rain, rain, here to stay on our tower cam. No, that's not the way the nursery rhyme goes. Let's take a look at our advisory, see which way the wind goes, where we have a lake advisory out for the Fort Peck area, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Tuesday. We're expecting winds from the west 15 to 30 miles per hour, so rough and hazardous open waters. High waves could tip or swamp smaller crafts. Tonight on the satellite screen, we're watching low pressure spinning out over the ocean in a front coming off of this system, moving through Montana. This is bringing rain into coastal areas, but also, as we saw a little earlier, some thunderstorm activity. This all now winding down in the east. There's still ongoing rain in Havre and Lewistown. No longer the threat of lightning tonight, clearing skies in Glasgow, and we're seeing wet weather, the result of low pressure. This will continue to drag in more moisture overnight and tomorrow and for the foreseeable future. For the coming days, 59 in Great Falls, 57 in Lewistown, 68 in Glasgow. Still a pretty nice warm night. Miles City, 75, 61 in Helena, 62 in Cutbank. Winds are not much of an issue tonight in any locations, all less than 10 miles per hour for our viewing area. But it looks like the winds will increase tomorrow with the cold front coming through, and the rain is going to be the main feature we're watching with a soggy setup. Wet weather Wednesday and some high mountain snow above 5,500 feet. 53 in Great Falls, 49 in Lewistown. Our overnight lows not bad tonight, and temperatures top out even above average one more time tomorrow, but big changes are coming with this system coming through. So 68 in Great Falls, 69 in Fort Benton, 63 in Lewistown, 59 for White Sulphur Springs, 66 in Helena, breezy and showers. Browning to Cutbank, mid-50s to mid-60s, 66 in Shelby and up to 70 in Havre. Chester a touch cooler, Choteau 65 and 69 in Shelby. Hayes 62, 70 in Malta, 71 in Glasgow and Scobie. Wolf Point 75. Could be some showers and storms on the prowl in the east tomorrow. We're seeing the wet weather continue into Wednesday and Thursday, with highs coming crashing down from the 60s into the 50s. So below average there for the end of the week. We'll start to see the recovery over the weekend. Shower chances down, finally drying out for the Memorial holiday. Emily, back to you.
Coming up, the first time in 20 years, take a look at last night's solar eclipse. And a founding member of the hip-hop group The Bee Gees has died. That's in tonight's entertainment update, up next on Fox 5.
The music world loses another star. If you missed it last night, we've got highlights from the Billboard Music Awards and highlights of what's to come in the American Idol season finale this week. That's right now in tonight's entertainment update.
Robin Gibb of the Bee Gees has passed away. Flowers were put on the Bee Gees star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame as a tribute. Gibb was diagnosed with colon and liver cancer, which she reportedly recovered from 2 years ago, but a secondary tumor complicated by a case of pneumonia recently sent him on a steady decline. He was 62 years old. Adele, LMFAO, Justin Bieber, Katy Perry, and Taylor Swift took the top prizes at last night's Billboard Music Awards. Taylor Swift, Chris Brown, and Stevie Wonder also among the winners. Billboard named Swift its Woman of the Year, honored Stevie Wonder with the Icon Award. Brown was named Top R&B Artist. In just a few days, America will decide who will take home the Idol crown. Season 11 of American Idol is almost a wrap as the final 2 contestants are preparing for the biggest week of their lives. The 2 talented singers sporting very different styles, but it's a competition, folks. Despite being friends off stage, the 2 know what's at stake. Sanchez and Phillips get their last chance to win over tens of millions of viewers with the 2-hour performance episode on Tuesday night, with the winner announced on Wednesday. And that's your entertainment update.
A solar eclipse was visible Sunday from Salt Lake City at around 7:30 Mountain Time. This is the first time in almost 2 decades that a solar eclipse is visible in the continental U.S. This eclipse is special. The moon did not completely cover the sun, so a huge ring of light was created in the sky. The ring phenomenon can last as long as 5 minutes, depending on the location.
Kind of neat.
Yeah, I know. We missed the eclipse. We missed the supermoon. I just feel
too cloudy up here. Strange.
Tom, it's a big week for the local area high schools as state competition starts later this week.
You know, you said big. Big would be an understatement, actually. It's a huge week for teams in Electric City, both in track and field as well as softball. And for both local AA softball teams, a run for a state title is the ultimate goal, of course. We'll talk to each club after the break, so stick around. Sports is coming up next.
Total sports coverage. Fox 5 Sports starts right now.
Well, good evening. Tom Wiley here with sports. Well, over the past decade, CMR softball has been synonymous with success. Since 1986, the Rustlers won 6 state titles and made it to the state tournament every year up until last year. But all that changed after a sweep of Bozeman in last week's playoff series. The Rustlers are once again heading the state as one of the favorites to win it all in Kalispell over the weekend. Coach Graham and the girls will face Missoula Big Sky in the first round on Thursday, and they know they'll have to bring their bats against the top-tier pitching they'll see at the state AA tournament.
I mean, everyone has a good pitcher, and so with Big Sky, we haven't seen her #1 yet, so we just need to focus on getting back to the speed, because I think that's one thing that in the last couple of weeks we haven't seen great speed from pitching, and so we're going to see that this weekend, and we need to be prepared for it.
Just bring our bats with us and play good D and just have our bats the whole weekend, so we get to that championship.
Well, meanwhile, the Great Falls High Bison coming off a convincing playoff sweep of the defending state champion Butte Bulldogs, and they're heading to the state tournament in head coach Mike Coleman's first year at the helm. With the win over Butte and some signature wins over crosstown rivals CMR and Billings West towards the end of the season, Coach Coleman thinks his team is peaking at the right time.
I think they are. They're hitting the ball real well. The pitching's finally starting to hit spots and throwing well. We've had a few errors, a few run mistakes. We're going to clip that up this week, and hopefully we'll shore it all up and be ready to go.
We're just all really excited, and we wanted to be there and wanted to play. I've never been to state before, so I don't know what it's like, and I'm excited to see.
Well, here's Thursday's matchups. Assuming the weather holds up, third-seeded Great Falls faces off against the Spartans of Missoula Sentinel, the second seed out of the Western AA Conference. 2 o'clock first pitch on that one. At 4 p.m., it's the CMR Rustlers taking on Big Sky, a 3-seed against the 2-seed. Both games will be played on Field 4 at the Kids Sports Complex up in Kalispell. Well, it all boils down to the best against the best, and for 2 of CMR's promising track and field athletes, the state meet will be their chance to show everyone just how good they really are. Triple long and high jumper Joey Marjan and 200-meter specialist Anna Weber are the only 2 winners from the Eastern Conference Divisionals over the weekend, but each agrees the key to victory is simply to relax, but, of course, it's easier said than done.
Just relax, just do what you do, just jump, just place. It's my first year coming out for track, so I mean, winning it would be great, but we'll see.
Yeah, just to relax and not get too nervous.
Okay.
But that doesn't really work.
Okay. It doesn't work?
Nope.
Why not?
I don't know. It's state. You're always going to be nervous.
Well, good luck to all our state tournament athletes. Well, Absaroka native and NFL veteran Ron Heller was back in Montana last week, spending time in Belt for the league's NFL Play 60 program. Heller, of course, wrapping up his second season as an assistant coach with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And, of course, you've heard the term bounty gate, which is cash paid to take out key players. For his part, nothing new for the former Philadelphia Eagles offensive tackle, but Heller says it's a problem when it extends outside the locker room.
Well, the amount of money with the bounty gate with the New Orleans Saints isn't really a concern with me, because that's just proportionate to the amount of money that the players and coaches are making these days. The fact that they talk like that isn't a concern with me, because from when I was 7 years old and I started playing, we were told, hey, number 12, their quarterback is the best guy on the team. Let's, be physical with him. Let him worry about us instead of worrying about completing a pass. That's always been a part of the game. How it manifests itself, money-wise is another thing. What does bother me, and what I think is the main reason that Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, took such a hardline stance, is that people outside of the organization were getting involved. There was evidence that Coach Payton, the head coach, was getting emails from people who had nothing to do with the organization saying, hey, I'll put $5,000 on player X or whoever. And I know the NFL is very guarded about any improprieties when it comes to possible connections with gamblers. And to me, Commissioner Goodell just blew a cork that there was somebody outside or people outside the organization trying to influence the outcome of a game. And that is what I think levied the great penalties that it did.
Interesting stuff from a guy who's been around the league a long time. One final note to tell you about 6'5" Shoto basketball star Isaac Howard. He signed on to play basketball with the Great Falls Argos next year. He will compete for playing time right away. But, of course, you can catch him at the State B meet in Bozeman this weekend. So looking forward to all that stuff.
Sounds good. Thanks for that update, Tom. We'll be right back after this.
Fox 5 News at 9 continues right now.
Thanks so much for joining us. That's all we have for tonight. We hope to see you tomorrow night on Fox 5 News at 9.